call the meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bellafiore.
Here.
Mr. Bianco. Here. Mr. Giglio. Mr. Ludston.
Here.
Mrs. Pielani. Mr. Radosevich.
Here.
Mr. Stoffel.
Here. Quorum has been established. So all please rise for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bianco, can you read our mission statement, please?
Sure. The mission of Norwich School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment.
Thank you. I'd like to thank our visitors for coming out on such a big number on a beautiful night. Well, thank you. Correspondence. There wasn't any. Presentations. Safety and security, STR. Alan.
Good evening. Over the last couple of weeks, we've had some good planning sessions with some community members to really explore what can be done in an economical manner for improved security at both schools. And we explored a wide range of options, and that was really kind of the intent. We did a small study that identified some of those steps. I think we gravitated towards a good, solid solution for Lee to create a man trap within the existing vestibule. We need to modify the vestibule so you'll be able to come in, be secured from the building, forced to have the choice to go into the office directly to be received, and then if processed on into the rest of the building. There'll be a small transaction window, some modifications. From the outside it'll look essentially the same, and the office will behave the same. There will be no real modifications to the office other than including a transaction window. So I think it's a good, solid, pretty simple solution. I think the goal is to try to get that in during Christmas break or just before, so it's not disruptive to the school year. Gives us enough time to procure the materials and the contractors to get that done, so it isn't disruptive. I think that's going to work out well. Here at Giles, certainly the entrance here at Giles is challenging. This isn't as large a project, but creating in that existing vestibule that's there now, the outside doors will remain as they are, the inside doors will remain as they are, but they'll be locked. That'll be controlled from the office. So again, being able to get in, be received remotely in this case, as opposed to face-to-face, to be able to let in. Just in an effort to try to reduce the visitor traffic and guests in the building as much as possible. You have a pretty widespread problem with that, and I think that'll really scrub out a lot of that traffic, give you the ability to really screen people in a kind of unobtrusive manner. So looking forward to that.
Any questions? Are you planning to go through any of the slides in the sense that you have any presentation, or how do you
certainly plan if you're loaded up. I didn't bring mine.
I did not.
Okay. In other words, no. I apologize for that.
And the project, what are you anticipating the cost of it?
The Lee project is approximately, all said and done, about $34,000. We haven't priced out all the Giles project yet, but that will probably be in the $6,000 to $7,000 range. I think the thought is that the district will perform Giles essentially directly. I'll procure the bids and proposals for the contractors and products for Lee. Giles is simpler.
All right.
And how much of your diagrams and drawings and stuff do you have done for the? How far along are you?
We have reviewed the concept Saturday.
Yes.
And I haven't gone much farther than that. I've started to block out the drawings. I've called a couple suppliers to try to get some handles on some products and stuff like that. Okay. I think the goal is to try to get that. We're concerned about lead times. You know, some of these security products are specialty products. There's just not a lot of people that really make them. So we want to be sure to get those orders in as soon as possible so you don't get delayed on the back end for the lead time. These more security specific issues are the real core issue. The transaction window, ballistic film, The rest of the products, more the hardware and window aluminum frame, isn't quite as troublesome from a lead point of view, but at the same point, we still want to have that ordered, available for the quick install. There just isn't that much time during Christmas break for leeway. We really need to have all the products there before we start, so that we can make that as painless as possible in the district.
Okay.
So you see, so it's roughly 41,000. What is your fee going to be? Is that included in there, or is that on top?
That's construction cost. My fee is based on your standard agreement, proportional to the project. If I recall, it's between 7 and 8%, depending on the size of the project, and so it would fall within that.
Okay. So I have a question for the Buildings and Grounds Committee. How do you expect to pay for this?
Well, currently there is a foundation that has been set up with community members, and they are called the Norwich Schools Foundation, and they will be procuring the funds from a donor. And with that, I believe, once we start moving forward with the projects, that'll be the direct responsibility of the Norwich Schools Foundation to pay for.
All right.
Am I correct in that, Mike?
Right. You have to come to an agreement on how it's coming out, when you need the monies, and how you need the monies.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to
Because
coordinate.
most of it's going to have to be paid before it's being started, because we're going to have to order the material, and then when we get into the construction phase, then it's a different set of.
Correct. Yeah, it's essentially, it's not quite, it's about a 50-50 labor materials, just as a rule of thumb, but you're right. So there'll be charge up front and a charge upon completion, essentially.
Okay.
Is there anyone here from the Norwich School Foundation that can speak? Fiona. So could you kind of just give us a quick, we have it on the agenda to approve the work with STR with 6300. What could we expect from the foundation of funding? When could it happen, and so forth?
The week after, the week of Labor Day, we can probably give those the first payment of which is what, $6,300, and after that, shortly after that, we can give you whatever else is needed at materials.
Okay. The only catch-22 that we would have is that if the district signs a contract for the to do the project, we will have to secure some type of funds in a sense to make sure that, because the district will be, Frank moved his head, I can't see. Not this Frank, not that. So just because we're going to have to come up to some type of agreement in a sense that when the project starts, we will need to have the funds, because the district will be on that hook for the project in a sense, and there is no really a lot of funds discretionary out there, and so long as we have that agreement and we'll work that out before the project starts.
Correct. We can work it out, but like we talked about on Saturday, we would rather pay the bills directly to the vendors or to the architect than to the district. So we need to talk about it again.
And why is that?
Because certain donors don't want to directly give district aid a check.
But they wouldn't, the foundation.
Yeah, they give us.
Right, so the donors would give you, the foundation, a check, and then the foundation would give the district, just like, for example, like the concept that we work with Save the Band in a sense, is where I think we demonstrated a lot of flexibility in a sense, where they said, here's $50,000, for example, to fund the teacher in a sense, and we're going to see how many students will be enrolled at a certain time, and then we'll see if we have to give more or less, let's say the end of September, once we know the enrollment for band in a sense. And so, but that group couldn't pay the teacher salaries. And so that's where that difficulty comes in, I think, is that if they're doing work at the school is responsible for that payment. And so I don't know how it'd be the easiest is for you to pay them directly. But I wouldn't understand the mechanism, how to avoid that, because the architect doesn't have a contract with you, for example, and the contractors wouldn't have a contract with the foundation; they would have it with the school, and then the school is at risk in the sense of paying that.
Correct, but I thought the last discussion you weren't there. but they're gonna get invoices from different contractors and vendors for different either materials or labor. Each thing is gonna be a specific amount of money. That invoice would then be given to us or to the donor, and a check would be written for exactly to the penny for that amount of money.
Before the work starts?
Well, for the materials, it's not.
The way we discussed it is the following. What we would do is we would put on the agenda for tonight a motion for the design of the safety and security measures to be put in place. In other words, Alan has to design the project and he has to accurately price out all of the items. In certain circumstances, we are going to piecemeal this project in order to have greater economy of scale. In other words, the safety window, we're going to price it out. We're going to look for the lowest cost. That may be an item that we would have an invoice for that would be different from, for example, breaking down the walls. Okay, but first we would design, so we would commit to a payment for the design. That would be number one. Alan would then bid because bidding has no cost. So for Alan, besides his services to bid, there's no commitment to a bid. So you would have a public meeting. And the reason I said you do a public meeting is because technically we do not have to bid these items out. Okay, it's under the $50,000 threshold, so we don't have to bid the construction costs out. But we would bid this out in order to have transparency between the two groups. Correct? That was our discussion. So you'd have transparency between the two groups, and that way would be on public record because you have to open your bids in the public, which would require a posting in the paper, which would require not a meeting such as this, but basically to have a time. You would open up the bid packages because they'd be sealed, and then we would document those, and then we would report those out at a board meeting so you can accurately, number one, the board can accurately know what the cost of the project is, but more importantly, number two, your donors could know what contributions they'd have to make in order for us to move forward with the project. That was our discussion. So it was really a phase-in process, and we had to be incredibly, this is my perspective, and you could disagree with me if you want, you're the architect. We have to be aggressive in our timeline because September is really an important date because it takes 30, 60, 90 days to prepare, to measure, to have our regular buildings and grounds meetings so that we're moving forward through this process together so that the donors are informed, so that the Board of Education is informed, so that the public is informed. So that was our discussion. Does that make sense? Am I missing anything? Do you guys believe I was missing anything?
No, Alan said he'd start this project in good faith because
Yeah, I have no issue with
he's gonna
that.
get paid. So that's.
I understand. I remember Alan saying that.
So you won't hold us liable if you don't get paid?
Not this time.
All right, okay.
That's my question. I mean, we're beholden to the taxpayers. What guarantee do we have that we're not going to be on the hook, that the district's not going to be on the hook for this money? We're not being trusted. What we have to put blind faith into this donor, the secretive donor. What guarantee do we have if that donor backs out that you're not going to come after us, you're not going to come after the taxpayers for the money?
That's not an architectural issue. That would be a legal issue. I think the point is made that both from my perspective and generally the contractor's perspective, you know, they like to deal with school districts because they're a known entity. You have a known cash flow and issues like that. Insured, keep going. Dealing with third parties, and it doesn't make any difference really who it is different. They're just not known. Yeah, Dr. O'Malley said, my contract's with the school district. Will I go after you if you don't pay me? I guess I don't know that answer. I'd legally be able to, obviously, but I don't have any intention of that. And you know, if I don't get paid on Tuesday, that we have a pretty good track record of being flexible, I think. So I hope everyone understands that. But if we do the work, we do expect to be paid.